We're here at the final table of the Super High Roller event.
And she loves the champion, a gracious runner-up and a deserving winner.
Somebody call the Blom Squad because this kid is blowing up. $1.25 million.
The PokerStars.com PCA is now in its 10th year, and we've kicked off the festival the only way we know how, by gathering the best players in the world and charging them $100,000 to do battle on the felt. Poker icons from across the globe came to pit their skills against one another. Phil Hellmuth's cameo on day one was short-lived. Day two ended Elke's PCA Triple Crown dream.
All right, okay, I call.
Ivy took a risk.
So stupid I am.
It didn't pay off.
I'm all in.
Call.
All in.
Once again, Vanessa was too aggressive.
Had to.
Nice hand, sir.
Good game, buddy.
And the one-drop champ fell victim to the bubble. One of the remaining 8 players will be crowned King Super High Roller and will walk away with over $2 million. Now, there's a very good chance that history will repeat itself today. Joe, do you remember the final table of the Super High Roller in Monaco last season?
Vaguely. Were we there?
Yes. Justin Bonomo came into that final as monster chip leader. He crushed the table and walked away with the title and the trophy.
Yeah, but Bonomo's not at this table. I know that.
No, but Doc Sands is, and he finds himself in a similar position, nearly half the chips in play and the strong favorite to win.
Yeah, but how about that Dan Shak? Nice to see a regular guy make his first Super High Roller final table.
He's a millionaire, and he was last year's runner-up.
I have a drinking problem.
Before we get the action underway, let's take a look at the men who can lay claim to the 8 most envied seats in poker right now. Representing Russia is Vladimir Troianovsky. He's a veteran of high roller events, but he'll need more than just experience to ladder up. He comes into today with just 3% of the chips in play. The first of the amateur businessmen at the final table is Carrie Katz. He's no stranger to a big buy-in, and he appreciates nothing more than being able to tangle with the game's greats.
The great thing about poker is even a player who's not great can compete with great players out there on a given day. So I'm just hoping to get lucky today.
In 6th position with arguably the most experience at the table is Schulman-Seiver. He was in this very same position in 2012, but left empty-handed as that year only the top 5 got paid. He'll be looking for some redemption today.
It means a lot to me to make this final table. I've come very close in this tournament in the past, and I'm hoping to try and finally close this one out.
It's no longer acceptable to call Dan Shak an amateur player. Possessing an impressive record in super high roller events, it seems the multimillionaire was not content with just conquering the business world. Coming into today with just 6% of the chips in play, he has his work cut out, but he hopes to improve on last year's runner-up finish.
This year's field was by far more difficult than last year's.
The real success story for the everyday amateur is Greg Jensen. This hedge fund manager was given a main event ticket as a present and decided to play the 100K at the last minute. He sits 4th on the leaderboard, and Greg has said he'll donate all his winnings to charity. No one was more grateful than Phil Gruissem to make this final table. After calling for the rebuy on day 1, he managed to make today 3rd in chips with over 1.6 million and officially escapes the German Losers Club. With a 57 big blind stack, Nick Schulman is looking to improve on his 4th place finish 2 years ago. Although he starts the day 2nd in chips, he sits on less than half the stack of the top spot. And in that pole position, with 45% of the chips in play, is David Sands. As most of the other players are on life support, Doc Sands is considered the favorite to win the event. But will the Doc be the one to pull the plug?
I have a lot of confidence in my poker game. I think I'm one of the best players in the field.
Players now take their seats as we're set for the Super High Roller final table. And it's the first final table of PCA 10.
You know, I checked out Doc Sands' credentials before this final table, and I don't think he's a real doctor, which explains why he got all weird when I asked him to check out his rash. Scott Seiver knows what I'm talking about.
I don't know. The rumor about you is you always lie about your hands.
That is true.
What's the rumor about Scott? That he's a liar?
No, about
Really?
his hands. He's one of those poker players who lies about his hands.
Yeah, but if Scott does lie about his hands, why would he tell the truth about that? I just blew your mind.
Blinds are 20,000 and 40,000 with a 5K ante. Action is on carry cats. King 10 off. He folds.
Little tight, but smart in bad position with the chip leader on your left. Oh, and there's nothing wrong with your screens. The show isn't buffering. Doc Sands just moves in slow motion.
Looks like an early position raise for the chip leader. He makes it 80,000 with King 7 suited. Fold it around to Greg Jensen in the cutoff. He passes.
Had all day to think what you're going to do hand one, all night, before you decide just going to raise it.
That would explain why he acted so quickly.
I mean, I guess I'm all in then.
Scott shoves with queens.
Wow, what a speech. He's like a young Lincoln.
Nice speech.
Thank you, thank you. I had all night to think about it.
Gruissem gives up the big blind. Action's back on Doc.
Doc certainly does not have to call this. He's not going to be ahead very often, especially with the speech.
He has folded, and Seiver wins the first hand of the day.
All I know is that Scott would be the most challenging role of Daniel Day-Lewis's career. And the PCA 10 Super High Roller Trophy for best speech goes to Scott Seiver.
Action's on Shak. King Jack of diamonds. He's raising, makes it 100K. King Queen for Greg Jensen, being railed by his wife Valerie.
Now Jensen could 3-bet this, but A, he doesn't know he has Dan dominated, silly, and B, the hand's good, but you don't want to have to fold or play a huge pot when you get 4-bet.
He does just call. Scott Seiver has pocket aces.
Oh, Scott Seiver, you lucky dog, you picks up the blades.
First queens, now aces.
Scott is in a dream spot. He's in position. Both these guys have hands they could conceivably think have decent equity. And oh yeah, Scott Seiver has Scott Seiver's rep.
He re-raises it to 3-bet to 275,000.
Very small 3-bet. He wants axe shown.
It's been passed around to Doc Sands in the big blind. He folds. It's back on Shak. Now, surely this is an all-in or fold spot.
He certainly does not have enough chips to call.
He's called.
But you certainly can't blame Jensen for coming along for the ride now.
Jensen calls as well. We go 3-way to the flop.
Huge percentage of Shak's stack in the middle.
The flop is 9-9-10.
Everyone misses. Scott's still in great shape. Not sure how much action he'll get. Dan would typically check this to the 3-better.
I'm all in.
Shak shoves.
This is a baffling open shove. Why would you ever do this with a 9? When you do it as a bluff like this, if you do get called, you're gonna get bladed.
How much do you?
745.
Jensen shoves. Scott might throw up in his mouth.
Jensen actually considering playing this?
He's getting almost 3-1, and typically when he shoves, Scott's supposed to fold.
All in.
He does shove.
Call.
Scott does not fold.
Well, I mean, typically when Scott doesn't have aces.
Both Seiver and Shak are at risk here. You got yourself into this mess, buddy.
Come on.
Scott way ahead, but still quite nervous. It's adorable, actually.
This one I would like to hold, though.
A jack for Jensen busts them both.
I'll take a 9. Yeah, thank you, Vladimir.
I think a queen's coming.
I mean, probably is.
It's an ace.
That's over.
Indeed.
Even the poker gods don't want to see what Scott Seiver had for lunch.
Good luck, everyone.
Good game, Dan.
So Shak is eliminated. Scott Seiver wins a huge pot.
Perfect, thank you.
Off to a great start.
Bizarre play from Dan Shak to send him to the rail. Solid representation of businessman at this FT, by the way. Greg Jensen being one of them, although now he's crippled.
Most of the prize money still to be paid out with 7-figure scores for first and second. Is Jensen going to get back in the action here?
Nope.
Not with those cards.
I'm just glad I got the first 2 through.
King 4 for Seiver, he folds. Pocket tens for Vladimir Troianovsky.
Vlad started today with 12 big blinds, and thanks to Dan Shak, he's already laddered up to 7th.
All in.
Good luck, Vladimir.
He is shoved for 485,000.
I love how Scott says good luck. Easy to do when you just want a huge pot and you've already folded.
Doc Sands in the small blind. Folds. Nick Schulman in the big. Will call. He's got aces.
Jeez.
Uh-oh. Hey, Nick Schulman's good luck charm is here.
Troianovsky, 4-1 underdog. Much bigger underdog now.
Yeah.
Potential for a very bad beat here.
Maybe the worst I've ever seen.
Nope.
Good game, Vlad.
Troianovsky exits in 7th.
Good luck to you. Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Nice time to pick up aces, eh, Nick Schulman?
He's up to over 2.8 million in chips.
Vlad should be pretty happy. Dan Shak's shove made him an extra 30K. Came in today with 3% of the chips in play and wasn't the first man out. Not bad at all.
I got a missing iPad. Did Dan Shak take my iPad?
Almost certainly.
Yeah. Yeah.
God only knows what I've been Googling on that thing. Jesus Christ.
Could explain why security's here.
Have you seen Nick Schulman's iPad? Please tweet its location using the hashtag PCA10. Welcome back to the 10th PokerStars.com PCA here in the Bahamas. The Super High Roller event has been a big part of the festival since 2011, and no one has fonder memories of the inaugural year than Eugene Kachelov.
My favorite PCA memory is obviously winning the Super High Roller 2 years ago. And that tournament kind of kicked off a huge year for me. And actually a huge PCA because I actually ended up going really deep in the main event as well that year. So yeah, it was just an insane PCA for me.
It's not bad. My favorite PCA memory was getting an extra maraschino cherry in my Bahama Mama.
Thrilling. Back at the final table, kings for Nick Schulman.
Jeez, look at this guy, card rack. Nick finished 4th here, his pal Eugene won it.
You raise this?
You have like 3 also? 2.7.
Greg Jensen, the small blind with ace-5.
Jensen's got a wheelie ace, 18 big blinds, and it's pretty tough to give Schulman credit for a hand this big with a button raise. He's just not ever supposed to fold this.
He shoves.
All in?
All in for
Cool.
Obviously called.
Jeez is right. Maybe Jensen should have expressed that he was donating it all to charity after he tips the dealers.
29% chance he survives here. Down to 14 on the flop.
Just 3 outs for the Wall Street philanthropist. Greg's wife Valerie also quite active in their charity efforts. Big sweat for them.
Picks up a straight draw on the turn.
More than doubled his outs.
Nothing in this world without hope.
Inspirational.
A 5's not enough.
You're playing with me, Greg.
Yeah, 25. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
A 6th place finish for Greg Jensen. A huge achievement in a tournament this tough.
Absolutely, an amateur who made it to the final table of a super high roller, and he's giving all of his winnings to charity. You clap your faces off.
And amazingly, we are already down to 5.
This is not how I thought things would go.
No.
In the first 20 minutes.
And Nick Schulman now looking strong.
I met Eugene Kachelov when I was in my early 20s. We kind of were both starting to have some success in poker, and he's a great guy. We grew up in New York City together, so we became very close friends and basically talked about poker over 95% of the time we hung out. You're never really immune to playing with such a close friend. It's always somewhat on your mind, but I think the way I always put it is it's more just out of respect for the game. You know, I respect the game so much that there are no friends at the poker table because we're at the poker table. We both have a clear goal in mind, which is to win. 10 years ago, someone said I was making the final table of a $100,000 buy-in tournament. I wouldn't have even believed that there would be a $100,000 buy-in tournament to play in.
Love that. Not that he wouldn't believe he wouldn't be in the tournament, just that such a tournament wouldn't exist.
Day 1A of the PCA main event also underway. At the Super High Roller final table, the blinds are up to 25 and 50,000 with a 5K ante.
You think they call this guy Doc because getting your medical degree is boring and takes forever?
He's under the gun with pocket nines. And I assume we will see a raise before 2016. Yep, makes it 105,000.
That was a good one.
Phil Gruissem in the small blind has ace-6 suited.
Not sure what Gruissem's up to here.
He's counting out a 3-bet.
3-bet here would be turning ace-6 into a bluff.
He re-raises to 275,000.
Unfortunately, Doc's got a hand he's not going to fold in a million years, which oddly might be how long it takes him to make his decision.
All in.
He shoves.
All in.
And Gruissem will fold.
Yep, forced to let that one go. Gruissem must have just thought Doc was likely to be opening light there. Not so much.
Extra try. Yeah. Figured you would at some point.
Don't act all like you were making a play. You had the neeners.
Well, Doc's being supported today by his fiancée.
He's doing great. I'm really proud of him. You know, he had a little bit of a mishap early in the week. He sprained his ankle, and so it kind of started off the trip a little bit rough. But he's had a really positive attitude, and he's been doing really well. So hopefully he wins it.
Those two are getting married in Laguna Beach and honeymooning in Bora Bora, but I gotta wonder how long it's gonna take Doc to actually say the words I do. That is gonna be one long, awkward silence, like this one. See? Brutal.
Time for us to get into the minds of one of the pros at the table. We are sweating with Nick Schulman. We will only see his hole cards here.
Okay.
Scott-Seiver gets the action started with an under-the-gun raise to 115,000.
All right, let's just remember Scott-Seiver's kind of running like God today, just saying.
Schulman in the big blind, 9-10 off.
We can defend this, but if we 3-bet it, we're going to get folds fairly often. If not, our hand play is all right, and we've got the betting lead. And both us and Scott are deep enough to do it.
He does re-raise. The 3-bet is to 315,000.
Now, if Scott clicks it back, I think we can just peace out.
Scott calls.
So we're out of position, but we're probably going to have to continuation bet just about every flop.
The flop is Queen 7-7 with 2 hearts.
Boy, that's not a very good flop for us, is it? At least we have the betting lead, though sometimes I like a delayed C-bet in this spot. Just not always going to get a check behind.
Schulman is going to bet 280,000.
This board is pretty dry, so Scott would have to fold a lot of suited connectors. If we get called here, I think it's safe to say that we are not ahead.
And Scott does call.
Okay, well, good try. No shame in that. See you on the next sweat.
Well, this changes things. Schulman now with second pair.
Yeah, now we don't have to bluff anymore. We can check and parade for a cheap showdown.
He does check.
Our Seiver, who art in seat 4, hallowed be thy check behind.
I'm all in.
Seiver shoves.
No!
This is a huge overbet.
All right, let's think about this for a second. Maybe we're ahead. Let's eliminate stone bluffs. It's a wicked small part of the range. We're beating 8-9 of hearts, Jack 8 of hearts, Jack 9 of hearts, all hands that would shove there. But would Scott raise those hands under the gun? Sure, some of the time. And what are we losing to? We're getting murdered by all 7s, all queens, pretty much all of their 10s. And I think Scott's totally capable of slow playing a big hand until now, something like ace queen or kings plus. The question is, if Scott has a strong hand, why so serious, Scott? Why so serious?
Schulman folds.
Make sure to show the camera real good on that one.
Please do.
Ace queen.
Scott-Seiver, run better. But seriously, you might have missed out on some value there.
You say that, but there was a moment when I thought Nick Schulman might just call with a pair of 10s.
Nick's one of my oldest friends. I mean, I've been friends with him ever since I started playing poker. You know, he was definitely, you know, levels above me when I first started. But we were really, really close friends ever since then. and, you know, have helped each other's games a lot. He was with me at the final table when I won it. It would be cool that if I had a title, a super high roller title, and he had a super high roller title, so that'd be awesome.
Translation, I have a huge piece of him.
Schulman currently third in chips. Carry Cat's clinging on with his 13 big blinds. Action's been folded to Schulman-Seiver in the small blind.
How much do you have? 1,050,000. I'm all in.
All in.
Oh, nice.
He shoves on Gruissem.
Yeah, free roll. Free roll spot. Oh, good one. First good one.
Yeah, it's enough.
So you should just snap?
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Nervous laughter, anyone?
So Gruissem a 55% favorite to double up and survive.
This is kind of a cold deck.
Queen on the flop.
Remember, Gruissem's in for 2 bullets.
He needs an ace on the river.
Looks like his schnitzel might be cooked.
We lose Phil Gruissem.
All right. Good luck, guys. Thank you.
And another big pot for Schulman-Seiver. So Gruissem collects more than $400,000. Remember, he invested $200,000 in this tournament. We've lost the last European, the 4 remaining players, all from the USA. Now remember, the PCA is a festival. There are more than 40 events, including the world's first ever open-faced Chinese poker tournament, an eagerly anticipated event.
Fouling is disastrous. Scooping is worth a lot, though.
Oh, Philip, what aren't you good at?
Is it on me?
Yes, Jason Mercier, it's on you. All the cool kids love the OFC. That's what they call it.
I did it! Yeah, it's like she got the kiss in the cheek. If she got a 10, like there was one left, I told her I'd give her a kiss in the cheek.
Wow, lucky girl. Not so lucky was Vanessa Selb. She busted the super high roller in 11th, narrowly missing the final table, but not as narrow and as unlucky as Antonio Esfandiari. He finished in 9th.
Back to the action, which is on Carry Cats.
Has Carry Cats played a hand yet?
Don't think so, and Doc Sands has been pretty quiet as well.
The doctor is out.
All the action's been at this end of the table.
Well, even as the chip leader, it's tough to try to take control when there's so much action happening all around you.
Schulman will raise small to big with King 10. Seiver in the big blind with King Jack.
Nick out of position and dominated.
Seiver calls.
Both hands a little under-repped at this point.
And it's a king high flop.
This could be a disaster. Nick Schulman should continue.
He does bet 180,000.
These hands are absolute monsters short-handed. And it looks like Scott is gonna raise, believing he can get action from worse, and he is right.
Remember, those green chips are 25,000 each, so that's a raise to 425,000.
No way Schulman can get away from this, but does he lose it all?
He is counting out a re-raise. Schulman 3-bets to 775,000.
He's 3-betting really small to induce. Big mistake. Scott's not folding either.
I'm all in.
Scott shoves.
Call.
And Schulman calls.
And we are about to lose Nick Schulman in the exact same spot he went out in 2011.
He only has 2 outs. Meanwhile, Schulman-Seiver is on the verge of winning a pot of more than 3.6 million and drawing practically even with Doc Sands. A deuce on the turn, Schulman down to 5% equity, about to make the walk of shame. A 10 on the river saves him.
No problem, OP.
A 2-outer saves Nick Schulman.
That is just brutal.
It's never easy.
Nick Schulman is way too lucky to be a Cleveland fan. Now it's he and Scott that are nearly even in chips. And Scott, the unwitting receiver of a bad beat.
So still 4-handed at the Super High Roller final table. If you want to play in an EPT event, go to PokerStars.net, where there are qualifiers every day. It's the PokerStars.com PCA 10, hosted by the Atlantis Resort on Paradise Island. Well, after Scott Seiver's promising start in the Super High Roller final, it seems he might be in free fall, having just taken another hit.
Call. You got it.
He made a mistimed river bluff.
It's not really the hand I was hoping for.
So will Scott's bad luck continue, or can he maintain his composure and get himself back in contention?
Scotty is no longer running too hotty.
Blinds up to 40 and 80,000 with a 10,000 ante. Action has been folded around to Nick Schulman in the small blind. And he will call.
You have like 2-2, 2-3.
Scott Seiver with 8-4 off in the big blind.
In these spots, Scott's actually got position, so this isn't actually so bad for him, especially knowing what he's up against.
He checked his option and pairs his 8 on the flop. Schulman pairs his 5.
This couldn't have gone any better for Scott. Top pair for him, middle pair for Schulman.
Nick checks, Scott bets. 110,000.
Scott working his position. Schulman not too likely to fold a pair.
He doesn't, he calls. He goes to the turn, which is the 7 of hearts.
Interesting card. Both players pick up gut shots.
Nick checks a second time.
Scott's probably quite confident in his hand at this point. Should be able to bet it for pure value.
He does bet a second time, 225,000.
Nick's got pretty good equity against most hands and might even be winning some of the time, so again, he's probably sticking around.
He calls. The river is a 9.
Nick Schulman catches another river.
He checks his 2 pair.
I got an 8.
And Seiver checks behind.
Yep, they got you again, Scotty. Got you again. No player could really go for value there with that board. Scott especially, obviously.
Jesus. Table.
Scott Seiver a tad dissatisfied with how that board ran out.
Well, Nick Schulman's catching so many rivers, you could say he's running like cod.
It's fair to say that Scott is never one to hide his emotions.
Here come the theatrics. Here come the sharks.
Hungry! Give me chips! I need chips, my friend!
Oh, it's the 4! Oh, now we're gonna hear some celebration.
I will run laps around the building.
10 or a heart.
You call me!
Yeah! Oh boy, oh boy.
Scott Seiver wins the pot.
He's doing his Umberto impersonation here. Good sports, both of them.
Despite being a silly Billy there at 27 years old, Scott has over 5 million in tournament winnings and is one of the most feared cash game players online.
Well, he's on the button here with ace-7.
I'm all in.
And he shoves.
Only 15 bigs.
Pocket 9s for Carry Cats.
How much is it? 1-5, 5,000.
Time for Cats to stop being so catatonic.
I'm all in.
He reshoves. Sands is out.
This is better than going to the movies, eh, Ike?
Seiver dominated the final table earlier. Now he's on the verge of elimination.
This carries longtime friend Mark Wagonseller. Please tell me he's a used car dealer.
Safe lot for 9s. Seiver drawing to 3 outs. He needs an ace. And he hits it on the turn.
Well, he's not running around the table yet. Poor Carey waited so long for that.
Cats does not get a 9 on the river. Seiver doubles up.
Patience is not rewarded.
Nice hand, Scott. You deserve that. Thank you, Carey. I gotta figure here. I'll just take it.
No professional poker player would ever say that. No way, no how. The only one who deserves it is me.
Lions currently 50,000 and 100,000 with a 10,000 ante.
No one here other than Doc is stacked particularly deep.
He's got Queen 10 on the button. And he will raise his button, makes it 200,000 total.
200.
Weird spot for Nick. He can't just call out of position with his stack. It's all in or fold. He is ahead, but Carry Cats is due to go out any second.
Schulman elects to fold. Scott Seiver. Has 3-5 suited.
Scott's getting okay odds to defend, especially since he can double through, Doc.
He calls. Heads up to the flop, which is Queen 5-3. Top pair for Sands, 2 pair for Seiver.
We could easily see it all go in here.
Sands does not c-bet, he checks behind.
2 super aggro players flop huge and it goes check, check, does not compute.
Seiver checks a second time. Surely we now get the delayed c-bet from Sands. No, he checks again! Incredible, a deuce on the river.
See if Scott actually wants to attempt some value. Or we can just check it down all day, guys, see who runs best.
Seiver is going to go for value. 300K.
Call. 2 pair.
Sands pays him off.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Wow. Dude.
Sands shows the queen.
Jeez. But. Check. Who checks that with the queen?
Feel good about that one. Wow. Feel like I just won 1.5 million.
Yeah.
Sands rewarded by his cautious play.
Yeah, I got here 2 days before the 100K, and my friend Jason Mercier was out kicking the tar out of a handful of 12-year-olds in basketball. So we played a game, and I rolled my ankle pretty badly. So nothing serious. I just have been riding around the Bahamas in a pretty high-powered scooter. So it has its perks, but at the same time, it's kind of annoying having to shower on one leg. So hopefully it'll get better soon. So I'd say I have a pretty good resume in terms of high rollers. I really enjoy playing them. I take a lot of pride in my poker game, and I really enjoy playing against the best players in the world and trying to beat them. So it was really fun to bust Ivy and Selps late in this tournament because, you know, both of them, in my mind, are 2 of the best players in the world.
I'm all in.
Call.
You know, I'm fortunate enough to have a really good group of friends who have helped my poker game a lot, specifically Tom Marchese and Andrew Lichtenberger are 2 of my closest friends who I've talked to about the game a ton in the last year, and I think I've learned a ton from both of them. I have immense respect for both of their games. The biggest change in my game has just been learning how to play deeper stacked and just making better decisions with more chips. And, you know, I think a large part of my run can be accredited to that. Winning this tournament would mean a lot to me, you know, even more emotionally than financially, to be honest.
But also still a lot financially.
Sands and Seiver going to a flop here. Scott made it 240,000 pre-flop. Sands defended out of the big blind. All clubs.
Sands flops pretty good, actually. Ace high and a gut shot straight flush draw.
He checks to the razor. Scott checks behind.
Sands hoping for a free card, and he got one.
Jack of diamonds.
I'd imagine these guys are pretty happy to check it again.
Sure enough, river for free. 10 of hearts. Scott Seiver gets there on the river.
And let's hope that Doc acts by the witching hour.
He checks.
Scott can probably confidently value bet.
$350,000.
Doc's played this hand pretty passively, hoping to back his way into a hand. Now he's left with nothing but ace high and a bet from Scott Seiver.
He folds.
Yeah, I just don't think Scott's going to play a bluff that way, and most of the time he's just going to have the best hand. Easy fold.
And Seiver now up to 5.36 million.
Which means there's only 10K in chips separating Scott and Doc, which is half an ante. Crazy considering Doc started the day with nearly half the chips.
Blinds are currently 61-20 with a 20K ante.
Everybody's still waiting out Kerry Katz.
Nick Schulman first to speak. Queen 4 off. He folds. Scott Seiver on the button. Will also pass. Ace Jack for Katz.
All in.
He shoves.
Standard.
Doc Sands in the big blind. Has pocket fives.
This is his version of a snap call.
My call. My call.
It's a race. For 11 big blinds, he could have been called pretty wide, but Doc woke up with a pair.
Nice and high. Lucky dealer here. Got to keep your streak going.
Mark Wagonseller is going to keep his streak going of low prices on used automobiles and intense sweats.
Katz looking for an ace or a jack. No help on that flop.
Such a bad feeling when you miss the flop.
How about a 2 of spades?
How about just a jack?
Yeah, I was gonna say jack and
I'm not
diamonds.
greedy.
Should
I'm
go
not
to your
greedy.
group.
Okay, a jack.
No, you should probably be greedy in this spot, I feel.
No help on the turn. 6 outs for the poker enthusiast. He busts in fourth.
All right.
Nice run, Kerry.
Good one, man.
Good game.
Thank you, too. Good game, Sean. Steve. Scott, sorry.
It's hard work out here.
Yeah, it's not as hard as, say, coal mining or, you know, pretty much any other job. We've lost our last philanthropist businessman. 3 pros remaining. Nobody saw that coming.
Nick Schulman, Scott Seiver, and chip leader Doc Sands. So who out of this final 3 are you supporting? Which of these 3 would you like to see win the PCA Super High Roller? Let us know and tag your tweets PCA10. We're down to 3 at the PokerStars.com PCA 10 Super High Roller. One of these players will be walking away with over $2 million and the first trophy of the year.
Winning this tournament would be huge for me. I feel like the one thing missing from my poker resume is a flagship win.
If I feel I played my best, at the end of the day, I'm never too disappointed.
A win in this tournament would be the biggest cash of my career. It'd be my first $2 million score.
The finishing line is in sight, but only one can claim the title. Meanwhile, day 1A of the main event continues. Our coverage of the tournament starts from day 1B. Back to the final table of the Super High Roller, blinds 80-160. King 6 suited for Schulman on the button.
Pretty strong 3-handed.
And he opens shots.
For only 15 big blinds.
Seiver folds. Sands has got 10s.
Snappy snap.
He calls.
Nick Schulman is on the brink of going out in this tournament in 3rd place. One better than 2011 at least.
A set of 10s for Doc Sands. Schulman does not have a club.
Ugly flop for Schulman. He can only win it outright with running cards. He could still chop, however.
Jack of clubs on the turn. There's the straight draw for Schulman.
One more. One more.
A queen for the win outright. A club for a chop. It's the 3 of hearts.
Nick Schulman with another near miss and a super high roller. Sands and Seiver are now heads up.
They're both guaranteed $1.26 million. Schulman walks away with $744K.
This is the way I assumed it would end.
Yeah, obviously. And by obviously, I mean not at all. When I was down to like 700K, I assumed you would be here, and I'm happy to be here.
All right, we should get an accurate chip count before we.
Well, obviously, I mean, I wouldn't want to just do like straight chip chop. I like not to like be an ass or anything. I assume I have some kind of edge playing heads up. But
I mean, if we were 800 big blinds deep, I would agree. But
oh yeah, no, well then I have a huge edge. But by edge, I mean like I think I'm probably like 55-45, assuming it was dead even stacks, like something really small. So, which is like a 10% edge. So I would chop if you want to like give me 5% bonus on whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
I mean, I'll talk to my #1 confidant over here, see what he says, but I doubt I'm going to do that.
Doc's about to get a call from the banker. See if there will be a deal or no deal.
Jeez. He says he wants 55-45.
Because he's tanking on it, and we could play like 10 minutes, and then I could go lower afterwards.
I mean, I agree he's slightly better than me heads up, but 55-45 seems absurd.
I would do like 51.5 to 48.5, but he's just not being realistic. If he thinks his edge could be that big.
Yeah, I'm just gonna play him. I would give you something, but I'm not gonna give you 5%.
Okay. I mean, we can play for a bit and change our minds or not based on how it goes.
They were talking about chopping the remaining prize money based on their percentages of chips. Scott wanted an extra 5% though, and Doc said no deal.
The difference between first and second place is $800,000. They're going to play for it all.
I think Scott's a great heads-up player. I think he's got a big edge on Doc now that it's down to heads up. He's a little behind in chips, but I expect Scott to really outplay him here. Scott has a ton of experience playing heads-up no limit, and Doc has almost none. Doc's a tournament specialist, whereas Scott has played a couple million hands of heads-up no limit cash.
Even specialists don't get to heads up very often.
We're here at the final table of the Super High Roller event. Good luck, players. Dealer, shuffle up and deal, please.
Team Sands on one side of the arena, Team Seiver on the other.
Blind still 81.60 with a 20k ante. Action on Seiver.
320.
He'll min raise. Queen 7 suited.
Scott's going to be raising the majority of his buttons. It's typical heads-up strategy. Scott's going to want to work Doc while he's in position.
Sands will defend with Jack 8 off.
Perfectly fine hand to call with.
Queen high flop. Seiver's hand still good.
Check.
Check, check.
Trappy McTrapperson.
Sands pairs his Jack on the turn.
And he's going to think he can value bet this now. This is just what Scott wanted.
440,000.
There's a really good chance Scott just calls and lets Doc try to value bet the river as well.
Seiver does just call. Well, Doc is definitely going to value bet the river now. He's just made trips.
Yeah, 100% chance of value bet.
1.56 million in the pot.
Pretty unlucky start to things here for Scott Seiver.
Doc Sands will bet 970,000.
Whether Scott likes it or not, he's got to call this. He wanted Doc betting turn and river, and he got it. He just didn't want him hitting turn and river.
Call.
He calls. Rivered again, Mr. Seiver.
Shake it off, buddy. Shake it off. Nothing Scott could do there. The poker gods can be fickle.
And Doc, no doubt happy. He said no deal.
I think Scott offered a deal, and he asked me what I thought, and I just said that the stacks were short, and it's very, very hard for Scott to be much better than he is heads up, so giving Scott a deal where Scott would get much more than his chip stack calls for just seems unnecessary. He has a 2-to-1 chip lead now, and I think he's playing great, so I feel pretty good about him taking it down.
It's Doc's turn to raise the button. Jack 9 suited. Seiver defends with 10-6 off.
Another fairly standard raise and defend for heads up.
Okay. All diamonds on the flop. Seiver with a flush draw and a pair of sixes.
Checks to the razor. Doc should be c-betting.
And he does continuation bet 370,000.
Seiver's got a very solid hand, a pair which is strong heads up, and a 10 high flush draw also strong heads up.
He calls. Queen of spades on the turn. Scott checks a second time.
See if Doc fires another barrel. He does not.
He checks behind. Deuce of diamonds on the river. Seiver gets there.
Doc may be wisely giving up on that turn, though.
Seiver checks. Doc checks behind.
That would have been an awfully gutsy river stab. I'm sure Scott was happy to make a flush, but the 4 flush can be a bigger action killer than your parents coming home early. Scott Seiver knows what I'm talking about.
Blinds up. 100,000, 200,000 with a 30,000 ante. Seiver's on the button.
4.
Min raising with pocket 9s. Doc Sands has 10s.
Oh boy. Now don't worry, Doc Sands is kind of like a brontosaurus. Sometimes it can take up to a full minute for his brain impulses to reach his muscles. He'll get there.
Here comes the re-raise.
I'm all in.
Scott responds with an insta-shove.
Call. All in call.
And Sands calls.
All in call. I have 10s, he has 9s.
He's an 82% favorite to win the super high roller.
Queen, Queen, Jack seems really fair. And I won't even call for other cards if I gotta.
Well, maybe out loud he won't.
As JC says, 9s are the card that make the most sets.
9 on the flop!
It is science, apparently.
They make the most sets.
That is just dirty.
Seiver now an 88% favorite to double up and take the huge chip lead in this heads-up battle.
Doc Sands not drawing dead yet. Unless someone folded a 10, there are still 2 in the deck.
Just a 5% chance of busting Seiver and winning the title here and now. Seiver doubles up to over 12 million. He has a 6-to-1 chip lead, and we play on.
And that is a huge pile of chips being pushed Scott's direction. If Doc ends up losing, he will actually make around 650K less than if he had made the deal That could have been why Scott was just smiling.
You can't ask for better than getting it in with 10s against 9s.
Doc is basically crippled at this point, though. It is all in or fold for him.
Horrible, bad beat, and now he is on life support. He's on the button. He's got King 4.
And a king is certainly good enough to move all in with.
He raises.
All in.
Seiver shoves on him and he calls.
Scott Seiver the slight favorite, but no lead is too safe in poker. Scott knows that better than anyone. Jason Kuhn, Tom Marchese, Erica Mutino all sweating the Doc. Scott Seiver sweating this flop.
The flop is Queen 8-5, all diamonds. Sands has the 4 of diamonds.
6 of diamonds, Jack of diamonds.
Sure, let's start with the 6.
Chop it up.
Start with the 6 and go from there.
No, only if he can wheel both at the same time.
These guys are crazy.
9 of hearts on the turn changes nothing. Seiver a 68% favorite to win the tournament.
Doc's got more than a quarter of the deck as outs, a 1 in 3 chance of hitting.
He doesn't hit on the river. Seiver seals the deal and wins the 100K super high roller here at PCA 10.
Obviously, I don't need to tell you. Again, you played so sick. For 2 days.
Appreciate it.
It's so sick, man.
Well, what can you do?
Guaranteed neither one of them has any idea what's happening right now. Scott has got to be on whatever the next cloud above 9 is.
You're done. Oh, I didn't know you could actually bink those.
Yeah, every once in a while.
I didn't know those were binkable.
Thanks, man.
Oh. Well, yeah. That was sick.
That was the intent.
Seiver will collect more than $2 million.
So many heads-up losses and stupid spots.
It's all thanks to you. I took everything I learned losing from you to do this.
Good job, man.
Thank you, thank you.
You'll get
What can you do?
You'll get yours.
So brutal.
You're already getting yours, but...
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, let's not forget that Doc Sands will walk away with the better part of $1.26 million. But you do sympathize with his frustration. Thanks to that lucky set of 9s, Scott Seiver is the super high roller champion.
Scott Seiver, you're down to 750K at one point. How did you stay mentally composed?
It really helped getting dealt aces a lot. It's pretty easy to maintain your composure that whenever you get short stacked, they give you aces and other people go all in. So I didn't really have to work at it at all. The cards really helped me out with that.
All right, 55% favorite heads up. Really, or is that a negotiation tactic?
Poker's 90% mental.
There you have it, guys. Let's get a big round of applause for our PCA 10 super high roller champion, Scott Seiver.
So, Scott Seiver emerges victorious despite a rocky journey.
I had all day to think what you're going to do hand 1, and you decide just going to raise it. I guess I'm all in, man.
Nice speech.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm all in.
Call. I'm all in. Jesus. I would chop if you want. I'm not going to do that. They make the most sense.
Join us next time as Day 1B of the PCA main event gets underway.